Good to see everybody. Excited to have the fall practice period wrapped up. I think it was very valuable for our team. Good transition, obviously coming off the national championship and setting our course, for this team and this year in 2024. I learned a lot about our team. I feel like we're in a good spot to now turn the corner. They need to do a good job finishing up final exams and then move into this December period where they have to take a lot of individual ownership in their development. I feel like we have good plans, good paths for guys, and it's about time for them to get a little breather and come back ready to go in January. And really excited for the 2024 season and the challenges that's going to present.
Hey, Coach, right up here up front. I know last year, you could pencil in Dylan Cruz and Trey Morgan, Jordan Thompson. Is there anybody that you've learned this fall that you've been able to pencil in on the position side? And if not, what do you like about that challenge to figure out come springtime?
Yeah, I think there's certainly some of that. I think when I think about from the position player side of it, the things that I feel great about at this point is I think it's harder to picture any program in the country have a better catching situation than we do. To have three players that all had significant playing time, on a national championship, Omaha caliber team, and positively contributed to winning the way we did with Alex and Hayden and Brady. And all those guys are in a really good spot right now. I feel like there's a path and, a way for all of them to make a positive contribution, between Alex behind the plate with his defensive skills, improving offense, team leadership. I don't think you could overstate how important he was at the end of the season, especially in Omaha. We won all 5 games that he started behind the plate in Omaha. I don't think we get to Omaha without Hayden and his offensive contribution. I think he's taken a nice step forward in his development. Obviously throwing, really good. He's kind of one of those guys that I think is poised to have a lot of success this year. And we're number one team in the country the entire time Brady was a starting catcher until he got hurt, So I feel good about that. I think, kind of moving around the field, Jared Jones, good freshman season. Hit 300 and hit 14 home runs, going through the majority of the SEC schedule. We obviously kind of went in a different direction in the postseason with what we're doing, but really excited about him. Feel strongly that our players make their biggest jump between their first and second year in a program. I think he's primed to do that. Around the infield, Michael Braswell, as of today, is clearly going to play shortstop. Like, that's not even a conversation or a question. Probably one of the biggest highlights of the fall has been his development from day one. We changed everything offensively and feel like he's in a really good spot. He led our team in hitting, hit a few home runs. Tommy, obviously coming back at third. He missed the fall due to the shoulder surgery at the end of the World Series. Immediately. He hurt it in game 1 of the season and really toughed that thing out, for the entire season. For him to play defense as well as he did last year and basically stay on the field with the significance of that injury was remarkable, and I think speaks a lot to his toughness. In a really good spot right now in terms of his recovery, I guess, if you will. He's back in his hitting program, hitting live. We've started the running, and I think when both of those things are stabilized, he'll begin throwing, and fully expect him to be ready to do everything by opening day. So obviously when he's at full health, we know what we have there, which in my opinion is the best hitter in the country. And then in the outfield, probably the deepest position on the team. I don't know about slotting guys in and saying this is a for sure, but, much like Jared, I think Paxton Kling did a good job at times last year. I think, all those guys were a little bit of a victim of being on one of the best position player teams in college baseball history. That's just what that was. Excited about his development. Feel like we've found some things here recently, late fall, that's going to help get him to another level as a player. Jake Brown is a freshman that has really stood out. Like, if you're asking me for something that I'm really happy about, that's something I'm really happy about. Speed, dynamic player, left-handed hitter, can do a lot of things to help us win. Mac Bingham, good transfer from Arizona. Obviously, coached him for 2 years, so know what we have there. And there's some guys right along the periphery. Josh Pearson obviously is a player I trusted a lot. We've bounced him around between the outfield and second base, and there's certainly more guys. There's a lot more to be decided, between now and opening day. So we're not in that place last year where you felt like, hey, these 5 or 6 guys are going to play.
Hey, Coach. Now that everyone's gotten some more time to get used to it, other than making games shorter, what effect do you think the pitch clock has had on the sport?
It wasn't as big as I thought it would. I actually like it, which kind of surprised me a little bit. I like staying on offense for as long as we possibly can and getting off the field on defense as quickly as we possibly could. I think it's just like anything else. No matter what's off the field, on the field, recruiting rule, pace of play or game, just like tell me what we're dealing with, and then we need to prepare to use it to our advantage. And I actually kind of liked it, to be honest with you. I think our hitters got comfortable with it. We didn't penalize them this fall at all, but we had the clock running the last 2 weeks, and I thought we're kind of in tune with it a little better than I thought we would be. Now we will when we come back for the spring scrimmages. If you're not ready to go at the 10-second mark, strike, because I don't want that to carry over into a game or vice versa. But I think it's been a positive change. I'm sure the fans, would rather see us win than 2.5 hours than in 4, which I understand that.
Hayden Moffitt seems like he had a pretty good summer league or in the Northwoods League. Just what have you seen from him in fall ball, and how big of a role do you expect him to play on this team?
Yeah, really another real positive from fall. Talent, never a question. Kind of my line always is, does the talent turn into usable skill to help us win? And we're much further along that line. And it's got a great fastball. Slider is good. Pound in the zone. A lot of maturity. Has taken well with Coach Yeski. I think a couple of things have stood out to me the last couple of weeks when we were playing Louisiana Lafayette last Sunday. I had a very clean first inning, and then guy hit a leadoff triple, and then that run scored. Another guy was on base, and then he got himself together and kept that inning at 1, which a year ago that would have got away from him, which is why he didn't have a bigger role on last year's team. And then yesterday in the Purple Gold World Series, he went 3-0 to the leadoff guy, one of our better hitters, and went strike 1, strike 2, strike 3 to eliminate the leadoff guy. And I just think the poise is taking a jump. The usable talent of a 98 to 100 mile an hour fastball, we know what that can do. Slider is a good out pitch because people have to get started for the fastball. The strikes are there. He's definitely gonna pitch, and a guy that maybe if you look at just the stats or lack of contribution last year, you would kind of forget about. We did not, but with that being said, I am super pleased with how much Aiden has improved.
Jay, when we first met with you before fall ball, you said one of the things that this team is going to have to do is forget last year.
Mm-hmm.
How much did fall ball go towards that?
Yeah, I think it was good. I think we were really mature with it. I think, if you don't stop and acknowledge what those guys accomplished, like the ring ceremony was awesome. Like for me, that kind of okay, we finally got to actually celebrate that, and that was a phenomenal day. And so during that day, I wanted them to be totally engaged in that. But we have a lot of work to do. I don't think that was any issue, whatsoever. And, when we turn the corner, it's all 2024, from that point forward, because your absolute focus on the present is that's our deal. It's right here, right now, all the time. And I'm looking forward to that. And I think there's a way to continually honor what last year's team did forever. They'll be bonded to here and together and known as champions forever, and that should be respected. But none of that has anything to do positively with what we need to do going forward. And I haven't felt any issue with that at all. It's great to see those guys when they're around, and they're working hard and set a good example for what our players want to be, which is pros in their off season, working hard to try to become big leaguers. And so it's great to have them around, but it's been handled really well by everybody.
You mentioned with Michael Braswell, what was it that y'all changed offensively? What kind of went into the overhaul that allowed him to have such a standout fall?
Yeah, I think first off, we went and got him because he impressed me, like with his skill set. Like I didn't even really look at the statistics or the numbers, that much. I know he had 2 years of a lot of playing experience in the SEC on a good team, a super regional team. I think he was, a little further along defensively than I thought. Like outs have to be outs if you're gonna win at a high level, and I think he dominates the routine play in terms of catching it, has good arm strength, really good internal clock, so that serves him well on a lot of different types of ground balls. Offensively, the first part was, tapping into opening up his body a little bit in terms of fast twitch, mobility, explosiveness. So there was a weight room component of that that Coach McMillan, our new strength coach, did a terrific job in helping him use his body better or open it up to be used better. And then he's working incredibly hard on, taking that advantage that he gained in the weight room, sequencing his swing of being in position, of using the lower half to get the bat to contact, and then connecting the bat and upper body with his lower body and creating a lot more impact. And it's tightened his swing, which is tightened his strike zone. And so I think it's a really balanced attack offensive player between contact, ability to drive the ball a little bit more. I think he had 3 or 4 home runs on the fall. And then he was able to walk and manage the zone really well. So you put all that together, you have a really valuable player, which is why I'm as high on him and the impact he can have on our team.
Hey, Coach, right here in the middle. Cameron Johnson's been impressive so far, including a 6 strikeout performance against UL Lafayette during your guys' scrimmage. What have you seen from him so far, and what was your reaction when he decided to come to LSU instead of going to the majors?
Performance has been great. I think, you got to be not very sharp to walk into a ballpark and see him step on the mound, throw one pitch, and not believe that guy has a chance to be something pretty special. I mean, the physical talent jumps out at you. I think what I've been impressed with Cam is how under control of himself he is, and that nothing has really sped up on him. He's doing a phenomenal job in school. He's doing a phenomenal job off the field. Kind of has a good synergy between that and getting on the mound and slowing things down and executing just the pitch in front of him. There's certainly pitching things that, like all our pitchers, he'll continue to work on and develop to add to his arsenal. But the talent is pretty special, but I think the mindset is really good. And, that was pretty dominating performance. I think Hayden threw somebody out trying to steal with 2 strikes, or he would have had 7 strikeouts in 2 innings, which you don't see that very often. But really happy that Cam's here. I think he does have some room to grow. I think he will grow. But at the same time, I trust him. I trust to get him on the mound early in important situations.
Hey, Coach, I think the LA Box is going to be 15 years old this year coming up. And some people say that's still brand new. But where are you at with the LA Box experience? Obviously, I guess your team dictates that on the field more than anything. But do you look around at different things and say, hey, we can improve it with this? Or, when you're LSU, you don't chase gimmicks and cheap things to liven up the experience.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of venues that are good in the SEC. I mean, we're just on a different planet, in terms of college baseball, and I'm proud to be on that planet. I think the separator for us is our fans. Our fans make it the best venue in college baseball, and very appreciative to their contribution in the regional and super regional last year. I mean, that was amazing. The super regional against Kentucky, Trey had a home run in the first inning, and that is easily the loudest I've ever heard that place. And, it was really awesome. So I think in terms of that, we'll always have that, and I'm thankful for that. I think in terms of updating, modernizing, I think if you don't pay attention, then you can get left behind in some areas. I think we have a lot of smart people working here that are on top of it. I think continuing to invest in it will be important. It's very clear, to them the things that I think are important that we need to do next. And that's all on player development and player amenities side, because that's my wheelhouse. And again, we have a lot of smart people for fan experience and those types of things, and our fans are the best. So I hope, they get treated best in terms of the venue. So, we're always on top of it, but they have a pretty clear picture about the things I want to do.
It goes right here. As Kim Mulkey said, as the national champs, you're guaranteed to get everyone's best shot. Regardless if you guys are the favorites to win it all again or not, how do you guys respond to that extra amount of pressure? And how do y'all avoid a championship hangover, which, we've seen teams suffer before?
I think a couple things in terms of that is, baseball in nature is very different. And I had to answer this question the other day of, how does, the last two champs, they didn't even make the SEC tournament, let alone the NCAA tournament, and Mississippi State and Ole Miss. I think we're in the only league and the only sport that's possible, because I think it's the best competitive dynamic in all of college sports is baseball in the SEC. The other thing is you look at maybe why some of those things happen. And for me, to win a national championship right now in baseball, everything has to line up. You need future major league players, which we had. You need old players that really knew what they were doing. We had that. You need player development. We got that. We needed to recruit at a high level. We've done that. And so it all built up to, in my opinion, one of the best teams in college baseball history. So what happens then is you lose some of those players, which we certainly did. 13 draft picks. That's an SEC record. Think about what I just said about SEC baseball. And so to break the record for draft picks on one team, that's awesome. So now there's a little bit of a reset, in terms of what you're doing. So we try to be ahead of that as best we could. From the day I got here, I knew we needed to upgrade the pitching talent in the program. Well, we obviously did that, bringing in the best pitcher I've ever seen last year in Paul. But we also did that from a depth standpoint. And then, go out and add, Gage Jump and Luke Holman, to Thatcher Hurd, to Nate Ackenhausen, Griffin Herring, Gavin Guidry, all these guys that have already pitched in Omaha. That's a really good starting place. And then, what we've tried to do is be, as I mentioned earlier, mature about how we're attacking this, is honoring the process of winning. We have a very specific, way that we follow. And I think we did a good job of that in the fall. It was definitely a different fall in a couple regards, but I think we handled it well. I think as a coaching staff, I think we have some good feel for our team right now and things that we need to do, that we need to guide them in the direction to do on their own. And what we need to do when we come back, which is improve on a daily basis. And so it's super boring, but to be in a better position for this team, we have to stay true and honor all of that stuff. And I think we have good leadership. I'm sure you'll talk to Hayden and Thatcher, part of that leadership group that understand that. They had really positive people around them last year that, part of it is you want to emulate some of that because the standard was so high for everybody on a daily basis, and then you commit to that and you have enough good players. That's kind of how you get through that.
Right up here up front, you mentioned the pitching staff and the overhaul you guys made in terms of building out the depth there. Just, it looked like every time I was looking at the stats update, it was this guy had no hits, 6 strikeouts kind of deal. Just how are you deciphering, which group of guys goes in what place in terms of starting and depth and closing? Just where are you guys at in that process?
Yeah, that's a good question, Glenn. I think, Coach Yeski and I having a little bit of an opportunity to work together for 2 years before him coming here this year is a super positive. Me understanding what I'm getting, what his strengths are, and part of that is just feel for understanding what guys need to do to enhance themselves and fit a role that can benefit the team. He's really good at that. and then communicating with the players of how to best line themselves up for success. There's a lot of factors that go into that. I mean, for me, as you guys know, one of our best pitchers will be at the end of the game, period. Whether they should or shouldn't start. Like, winning close games is a hallmark of championship teams, and so we did a really good job of that. We've done a really good job of that for 2 years. Completely had to reverse engineer it the first year in 2022, but it was an outstanding bullpen, and we won a lot of close games. And then last year, with going through some of the injuries and shuffling the deck and moving parts and kind of opener starter, even in the regional, you know what I mean? And, super regional, one of the games for that matter. And in Omaha, that's just what we needed to do. I think there's more than, for sure, 3 capable starters on this team. I think the versatility of several of them allow them to either move up if that's what's called for, or move to the bullpen in the middle of the game to stabilize it, or at the end of the game to finish it. Don't really have it like, hey, this is how we're lining up the weekend just yet. We have a group that will elevate their pitch counts early on, and then we'll peel it back as we get closer to the season of, hey, maybe this guy's going to go twice a week out of the bullpen. This is going to be a long guy. This is going to be a closer, and then these guys are going to hopefully get you to 90 pitches and 6 innings, that type of thing. But having more than 3 guys that can do that gives us the opportunity to look at it critically. And as you said, we got to do a good job of lining them up right, and we're working through that.
Despite losing great pitchers like Skeens and guys like Cooper and stuff, do you feel like this is a deeper pitching staff, or potentially can be a deeper pitching staff than last year?
Yes and no, and what I mean by that is yes, and I'm very happy with what we have. It's there's going to be a fight for the ball in competitive innings, no question about that. Anything can happen, like I said last year. I mean, Chase Shores goes down, Garrett Edwards goes down. That really hurt, at the time, and we had to spend some time shuffling the deck. And so maybe at the outset, similar depth, deeper than where we were, by the middle of the year, for sure. But yeah, I feel good about that. We really made it a priority to make sure we had competitive pitching, which allows you to be in games, and then you definitely have a chance at winning every game that you play. And really excited about the guys that are going to line up and feel like we can match up. In most games, we take the field from starting pitcher to the opponent's starting pitcher.
Very good. Thank you.
One more question.
Yeah, I'm good.
With all the talent behind the plate, what are your plans for Brady Neal for the season?
Well, he's still working through that injury that sidelined him. Happy to say we were able to get him, about 30 at-bats at the back half of the fall. Hit some balls really hard. You could see maybe some of the gap in the missed time and development. Baseball is experiential. You have to play to get better. But I'm pretty confident we have a good plan laid out for him to get ready. I think catching 2 games in a row will be difficult. It just will. His body may or may not allow him to do that. The other thing that's important is with all 3 of the catchers is in their own right, now they're all 3 good offensive players. Brady, just had good strike zone discipline. Homered off Hagen Smith and Chase Burns last year. That's probably a really small list of guys that have done that in their lifetime. So you see the potential there. Hayden was one of the best hitters in the country for a 6-week period. And Alex has become an elite, move the offense, has a clear identity of who he is, what he needs to do to help our team win, and did that phenomenally last year and did it as well this fall. So I have no concerns. Right now, I think we have 11 to 12 hitters that are probably at the top of this thing. All 3 of those guys are in that grouping for me. And you look at opening day lineup last year versus last game against Florida. There's three spots that were different, and that's how it goes. And it's nice to have some flexibility, especially with the demands at the catcher position. And excited to get Brady back and healthy.